This is our station wagon versus SUV car crash investigation.
In the first slide, we set up the initial diagram for both cars, including the velocity before the collision, the velocity immediately after the collision, and then following with the brakes.
In order to find the velocity immediately after the collision, we used the values given for acceleration, the skid marks, and velocity, and plugged it into the equation v squared equals v naught squared plus 2a delta x. And for the SUV, we found that it was root 8 meters per second, and for the wagon, we found it was 12 meters per second. To find the velocity of the SUV before the collision, we used the given masses and velocities and the velocities that we calculated and multiplied them together to solve for the initial velocity, and we got 10.828 meters per second.
In the velocity versus times graphs, in part A, before the collision, you can see that the SUV was going at a constant velocity while the station wagon was at rest. In segment B, you can see that the SUV was slowing due to impact and the wagon was accelerating due to impact, which was immediately after the collision. In part C, which is after the brakes lock, the SUV slows to a stop and the station wagon also slows to a stop.
To find out whether the collision was elastic or inelastic, we used the formula K equals 1/2 mv squared. First, we found the total kinetic energy initially, and then in the final thing, we found the total kinetic energy. We put this data into an energy bar diagram. In the energy bar diagram, you can see that the kinetic energy before the collision is greater than the kinetic energy after the collision because some of the energy was turned into negative work. Therefore, we can conclude that the collision was inelastic because kinetic energy was not conserved. In a previous slide, we figured out that the SUV was going at 10.828 meters per second before the crash. We needed to convert this to kilometers per hour to figure out whether the SUV was speeding or not. After we converted it, we figured out that the SUV was basically going 39 kilometers per hour, which is greater than the 35 kilometers an hour speed limit. So yes, the SUV was speeding.